All right. So our next minute is that Eric Severson has agreed to fill a vacant spot on our council. So we had a council member, Myra, who stepped down in the fall, and Eric has agreed to step in for her spot. So with regards to Eric being able to be voted into this council spot, if the other members of council don't have any other ideas, we could run a election via quick poll for the membership so they can vote him in. Claudia, Odalis, Dan, do you guys have any things you want to say about that? Point 3 on the agenda.
Nope, I don't have a problem.
Nope,
Sounds
no
good.
problem.
Great. Phenomenal. Thank you. All right. Delegate assembly updates. I think Ellen, John, and Quinn, I don't think they're here yet. So we can always go back to point 4 later on. But one thing that will be said is that our remote Danielson Frank Rezo did unfortunately not make the agenda for the UFT's December delegate assembly. So that will be hopefully voted upon and discussed for January's meeting. Quinn wrote a really fantastic resolution. John did a really great job of that reso as well. It's fantastic. It's on our website, UFTSolidarity.org. So when you have a chance, please review it. Let us know what you think, because we do have quite a bit of time before the January DA. I'm just letting in some more people. All right, so Claudia, you are up. Solidarity Power Team.
Hi. Okay, I'm gonna keep my video off because, you know, if anyone wants to see my face, I'll send you a selfie. Anyway, okay, so we have a whole membership initiative to engage our members, update our membership information, and get our members to become more engaged and more active. And there was a whole plan put out. So we're rolling this out. We're sending out an email to our members, a kind of holiday greeting. And with that is a Google form that we're asking them to fill out. It will update their information. And it also serves as a survey in what ways they can become more active and more involved. And that includes donating. We have merchandise that we're going to be offering with donations, volunteering if they have time to volunteer, and then looking into 2021, the chapter leader and delegate elections, getting our members to run for their chapter positions or get more involved in their chapters. And then 2022, the UFT general election, which if we run a slate, if we have people who are interested in running with Solidarity. Now I put out urgent donation volunteer assistance ask. So we need money. We need about $100 so we could start, we could get stickers and buttons made. The other thing is Lydia basically took on all the labor of getting the merchandise orders sent out to the members, because we already had gotten t-shirt and face covering orders. So I'm not sure how this would work under COVID, because Lydia's doing this from her house. I don't know how much time Lydia puts into Solidarity. If she actually figured it out, it'd probably be a second job. So I don't know how someone could help Lydia, because she's doing the packing, she's doing the mailing. It's a lot of physical labor. I don't live near Lydia. If I did, I'd go over and help her. But I think that's something, you know, see if somebody might be available to physically help her. And as far as donating, I mean, we need about $100. If everyone could maybe send Lydia a check for $10 or something. I mean, it'll help, because otherwise we have to put, you know, we have to put money in to be able to produce this merchandise that we are hoping our members will be thrilled to receive with their donation. And we appreciate everyone who donates anything. It's really, because we don't ask for dues, we're not asking, all caucuses can ask their members to pay dues, including Unity, because caucuses operate separately from the union itself. So that's something that was recently clarified for my edification. And Jay has also been working with Lydia to get the t-shirts and masks produced. And, you know, we're really thankful for everyone who's been, you know, doing this. And the other exciting thing is Lydia also got us on a text blast app, so we can send out reminders to our members. And then with this app, we can also use it for any kind of group texting or member forums who can, when members are working together, maybe working on a particular project, they can communicate with each other, because we can't have physical meetings, obviously. And emailing is very awkward, doesn't really work out. And social media is great. We can reach a lot of people, but again, to try to communicate amongst ourselves, this should be really, really great for getting our members to become more connected and more involved. So Lydia has been, as always, a rock star. So I think we should just, I don't know, maybe send her a giant cake or something. I don't know. But so if you could send money to Lydia or don't make a donation, and if anyone can physically help her, I'm just putting that out there as a ask. But otherwise, everything is rolling. We're going to be getting our, you know, our message out on social media and to our members, and we're asking people to fill out a Google form and get engaged. You know, get involved, and that's it. If anyone has any questions, you want to throw that out here right now. I'll mute my mic.
I have
Thank you so much.
How much do you want us to donate? Does it matter?
It really doesn't matter, honestly. Like I'll take 25 cents.
What about my suggestion? What about a Cash App? Would that?
We don't have a Cash App, but I can look into that. Right now we have Venmo.
All right, like you know, to help you out, we'll send it to you. I mean, I could do it like that. That's in one shot.
Mhm.
So I'll send you something. I don't mind doing that.
Sure. All right, guys, I added the UFT Solidarity donate link in the minutes underneath point 5. And if you want to help in any way, whether it's via donation, whether it's via helping me ship out and deliver t-shirts and face coverings and buttons and stickers to folks, just holler. Dan, what's up?
Something else we might want to try, as it might be help. It might, I'm not saying this will, it might provide income, is creating a Solidarity Teachers Pay Teachers store. I don't know if you're familiar with Teachers Pay Teachers.
Yes.
We all have resources. I have my own store at Teachers Pay Teachers, but we all have had resources that we have created, I'm sure. And if we put, and especially now that we're all remote, we all have a lot of digital resources that are easily transferred onto the store. And that might be all the money that we can create from that can go into the Solidarity coffers. I would be willing to.
That's an interesting idea.
I'd be willing to do that with my store as well.
Can I just wanted to add something. I'm sorry, this is Claudia. I forgot to mention that we're looking into getting a new bank account. Again, Lydia has been doing that. So we're going to be moving into probably a new way of, you know, dealing with our finances. And that might also make it easier when people want to, you know, do some, any exchange of money, et cetera. Anyway, I just want to make sure that was included.
No, thank you so much, Claudia. I mean, like, also, like, I want to give Claudia and Jay like really big kudos, because they were in charge of setting up the Solidarity Power Team. I mean, like, I'm like really blown away by the quality of the work that they have put in. They are both phenomenal, so they both receive my eternal gratitude, and I sincerely hope that you guys just really appreciate the work that they've been doing. It's all for you guys. You know, Claudia's retired. Jay's in a really great school. So like a lot of the stuff that we are doing, it's not for our benefit, but it's for the benefit of our members who have a number of years left before they can retire or they aren't in the best situation. So, but thank you. Thank you for everybody who have been helping.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Does anyone have a question?
Yes, this is Awadallah. Hi, everybody. I can help you. You're asking how physically we can help for shaping stuff like that. I live in Brooklyn, and I can help in Brooklyn and Staten Island. I live in Bay Ridge, so I can have Southern Brooklyn, Bay Ridge. So just let me know. But pretty much maybe during the weekdays, maybe 2 hours a day or something, 2 or 3 days a week or something. Maybe each other week will be one weekend. It depends, but just let me know 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what we need to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I can, yes, I said yes. I can do.
Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
I have your email, so I will definitely be in touch.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else have a question, concern, or comment?
Hi, it's Ellen. I really like the idea of the pay teacher store very much. I also wonder if you ever looked into companies like Cafe Press for doing like on-demand swag. So you don't have to make so much of an investment. Like you already have a logo. Like you can have logos printed on things and keep a web page up of swag items, and like and there are other companies that do it too, but like Cafe Press, they process the credit card, they mail the item, you know, that kind of thing, and you just keep the profit. You know, there's a small setup charge in the beginning, but then and it's not that you're going to earn a ton of money, but at least you don't have to lay much out in order to get swag out there. And they have everything from bumper stickers to mugs to whatever. So it's a thought. I used to use it with, you know, small museums and stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, because I was looking at, you could get those keep calm and blah, blah, blah type mugs. And, you know, we could use keep calm and, you know, vote solidarity. So, I mean, there's things we could do, especially if we go into elections. That could be fun items. And then as, you know, as needed, you know, we can change it up. But that's excellent.
All right, so it looks
Right.
like we are up to the next point, number 6, unless
Yes.
anyone else wants to add anything to
No, I
number
was just
5.
gonna say it's Francesco. Spirit Shop is what my school used, so I put that in the link in the chat. Spirit Shop. They uploaded a few different variations of the logos, and then Spirit Shop take that, mix it in with other things having to do with your organization, and then you could purchase it on your own. Yeah, so a lot less work.
Thank you. All right, so number 6, Claudia, do you want to start by talking about number 6, and then I can jump in as well?
Sure. Okay. Well, we're looking to get our members running for union positions. And then if you see that docs, the highlighted, that's something I wrote. You can read it when you get a chance. Basically, I thought of the squad, you know, the squad of the progressive Democratic candidates who have been getting more and more real grassroots type of people elected, including in where I now live in Westchester, Mondaire Jones, who got, you know, did an amazing thing. He basically, you know, became a whole new kind of candidate. And, you know, on the model of AOC and other, you know, the other candidates that have gotten elected. So we need to do the same. We need to get a message out that says, you know what, unity, right? Unity runs everything. Unity is a monopoly. Unity, you know, whatever you do, unity is there to just basically squash you. Well, it won't happen if more people are identified as part of a caucus and get elected and go to meetings, go to delegate assembly, go to UFT executive board meetings, show up as unity, I'm sorry, as Solidarity caucus members. And, you know, we're not trying to change the world, and we're not asking anyone to be politically anything. We're not saying we're, you know, this or that, but we are trying to, you know, get heard. And unfortunately, unity, you know, unity has the larger, you know, numbers. So that's really basically what we're thinking about. Eric, I know Lydia and Eric and Johnny Hinesley have been working as an election committee. So going into the new year, and that's on the Google form that we're asking people to, you know, as a survey, are you willing to run, you know, or willing to help? So people, if you know people who want to run and they're ready to, you know, take that on, or help get people elected in their chapters, or even just get on your consultation committee, you know, insist that your chapter leader is doing certain things. We need to support people in doing that, because otherwise we're just going to be like wringing our hands and going, oh, unity, they do everything. Whatever we do, they squash us. The business of the resolutions and letting the time run out. I've been to many delegate assembly meetings over the years. It is just a game they play. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's so childish. I mean, it's beyond, you know, so you just sit there going, what the hell? What are they doing? They talk and talk and talk and talk and tell you nothing. So it is, people have got to get involved and start insisting that the union stop playing games. And that's really what it boils down to. So anyway, that's the, you know, that's the thing we want to get into in 2021. So take it away, Lydia, you can carry on.
Thank you, Claudia. Well said. So, I mean, like, I have already spoken to a few people who are interested in helping Johnny, Eric, and myself do some election outreach, do like maybe public PSAs. A big thing that I have seen a lot is that a lot of people are reluctant to run for a union position because, oh, my chapter leader is very well liked, or my chapter leader is very connected to the principal, and if I stir the pot, I'm going to expose myself. And that's a very legit and very valid concern. So if you are not tenured yet, I strongly suggest, based on my own experiences, that if you're going to run for a union position and you're not tenured, run for a delegate position, because as a delegate, you have a chance of developing a reputation with your school community without really sticking your neck out really deeply. And plus, as a delegate, you are also in charge of basically delivering to your school really relevant, really important information about the union. You can also, hey, could you guys mute?
I think apples and bananas are good, right? We don't need anything
Yes,
else.
please mute.
Stephanie, please mute.
Guys, you gotta mute.
Thank you. Okay, so for the delegate position, it is a good position to take on if you are just really concerned about, you know, about like, you know, your own, you know, I guess like how, like your own reputation in the school. But if you know, if you are tenured, if you know you have a relatively good relationship with people in your school, and you know that your chapter leader is scummy or ineffective, run against them. And we will definitely do our best to help you run a really good campaign. And again, if you want to help us in any small or big way with these UFT elections, Claudia and I will be sending out the form via email tomorrow. I can also post it in the Remind chat link that you all are members of, so I can share that. I know that James Eterno is on this chat, and I think we have a few minutes before we can get to Dan Alicia. So James, do you want to share with us how you were able to get a strong group of chapter leaders elected in Queens over the years? I mean, you don't have to talk if you don't want to, but like you told me the story a few times. And I think it's really inspirational.
Sorry, Lydia, I was away from the phone at the time, so it took me a couple of seconds to get back. The best thing that we did was we got together because it was first just me as the only non-Unity chapter leader that I knew of in Queens high schools. But as time went by the second year, third year, and then many more afterwards, we started to develop a nice network of people, of chapter leaders, people from Adams, Hillcrest, Springfield, when it was still Springfield. My wife, that's how I met her at Gateway. And eventually we would do calls, and then finally we started meeting so that we could bring up common issues at the district meetings. And at election time for not chapter elections, but general elections, we had a nice group, and we would get the literature to people and we could get it out very, very easily. And I think what you were saying just a minute ago about being a delegate, it's so important that people run for delegate, and it's a really easy job. All you have to do is go to the 9 meetings and report back to your chapter, find out what they want. It doesn't have to have any confrontational involvement with the principal. So I agree with you totally. If you're just a little nervous about being the chapter leader, run for delegate. Usually there's very little competition for those jobs, and take it and go with it.
Thank you very much, James, and thank you very much, Claudia. Does anyone else want to share out anything before we move on to our special guest, Dan Elisea?
It's Kathy Perez.
Hey.
I mean, is there any way that ATRs can run for delegate? Because I'm like in limbo right now, and given my lawsuit and everything like that, I am never going to be assigned to a school because I am radioactive. So, like, is it possible for us to get delegate positions, or are we just, not allowed to do anything like that?
I know Francesco. Go ahead. Go, Francesco.
You're eligible to run in the school you're in this May and June. And you might just be in a school where nobody wants it, and then you could easily win. Whether you're going to be back there in the next year or not is irrelevant.
No, I won't be. I'm on loan. It's an elementary school, and I'm a middle school reading. Well, I'm a reading teacher, which, makes me as popular as bubonic plague these days. But I guess I could. I don't know how that would go, because this is like a really toxic school. The school I've been at for the last 3 years was fine. And I'm also teaching remotely. I'm on a remote accommodation, but I could give it a shot. I just don't know how I would start. How would I start doing that?
Just talk to people. Talk to people and see if there's any interest. And tell them that even if you're not there, you will report back to them and get everybody's email and tell them what's going on. Because the job really is to tell what's going on centrally, as opposed to school issues. And hi, Kathy.
Hi.
Okay.
Hey, Kathy, I'm sorry. I ran as a delegate as an ATR, and I wound up winning, and I was representing the school for 2 years, even after I had left the school.
Okay.
It's possible. It's not easy.
Yeah, no, it stinks because I'm not in the building. I'm teaching from home. So I'm on an accommodation. So I'm just trying to figure out how I would do that. And this particular building is like really toxic. It's like huge bully, and basically the CL acts as the principal's enforcer.
Oh,
So yeah, and in turn, he really doesn't have to do anything. You know, he has this like nice little computer thing where he puts the kids on ABCYA for 15 minutes, and then that's it. That's all he does. So, you know, if he actually started being a chapter leader, he might have to do something like work with children, and we know we don't want that. So, I mean, I can try. I'll have to see if I can somehow start talking, talking to people, and see what I can do with that. All right, we'll see.
Yeah, Kathy, hi, how are you?
Hi. Is that Lydia?
No, this is Claudia.
Oh, hi, Claudia.
So, yeah, it's possible that there are teachers in that school who are not happy with the chapter leader. They're not
Well,
going to
most of them are not, but they're just too afraid of the principal to do anything.
they're not going to come out and say it, especially if they feel that's going to put them on thin ice. And in your position, you're kind of like, well,
Right.
run for chapter leader. What are they going to do to you? I mean, I don't mean
That
to sound.
is true. That is true, because I am like kind of like beholden to no one. That is true.
Yeah. And whether you're home, whether it's remote or not, you still, you will communicate. We can help. That's why Solidarity could probably help if we get people on Solidarity, and then you could communicate with them. Nobody knows. It's none of anybody's business who you're communicating with. So they're protected and you're protected.
That's true.
So if you do it through us, and if we're using an app where people sign on and you have your own little circle of teachers that you're communicating with, we, in a sense, that gives you a whole lot of protection. Nobody knows what you're doing. It's not as if you're in school and you're handing out a paper saying, here, sign my petition. Then everyone knows. They'll go right back. So I mean, think about it. I'm not saying you must do it, but running for delegate is so non-threatening. You're not really.
That's what I'm thinking of doing, because that's a pretty good way to go in, because I know that if I tried to go against the guy who's there now, that's going to bring down, pardon my French, a big shitstorm from the 3 witches from Macbeth that run this place.
I hear you. All right. Okay.
So yeah, all right. I'm gonna toy with that idea, but I'm leaning towards going ahead and doing that. That seems like a nice, non-threatening way to go in, and then, kind of be subversive from there.
That's good. All righty.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I have a question. I have a comment. The same thing like Catherine's school. It's the same situation in my school, where we only have 4 tenured teachers. It's a small school. So because the other teachers are not tenured, they're afraid to talk out. So I had a meeting with my chapter leader on Friday, and she's like, you're the only one that don't like the principal. Everybody likes the principal. And she went and told me also that the district rep told her that every time I send an email, I send it to Michael Mulgrew. And I'm very upset because I feel that they know that I have like a target on my back. And for her to say that, I just feel like that was a betrayal. So I would like to know, how can I go against, I want to run against my chapter leader because she's not for us. So kind of the same situation Catherine is going through.
So one thing that I'm thinking of us doing is that for the month of January, our meeting can just be focused on how to run a successful campaign. And one thing that you can first start doing now is just start talking to teachers, especially the young ones. If they see that you are for them and that you're not going to go stab them in the back, that you are no snitch, they will potentially be able to vote for you quietly, and they may quietly support you, undercover. So I would just like first just start making friends with the young teachers, because I know young teachers can be a little bit paranoid. I was there in that position not too long ago. So just start making inwards. If you feel comfortable, you can start sending them information about Solidarity. You can talk to them. You can even you can like you can maybe like offer them support in their virtual classrooms. You can say, hey, I really liked what you shared in this PD. Let's talk some more. It just, I feel like a lot of this stuff, or being able to run a successful campaign, is it's getting people to like you. Because that's how I was able to get myself elected as delegate in my first year at my previous school. Like I had a couple of folks who were also running for delegate, and I was just a super friendly butterfly, and a lot of people just knew I knew my shit, more or less. And that was one reason I think I won that delegate position, just because I smiled a lot and people liked me, and I did right by them. All right, so if anyone else doesn't have any other points.
Yes, I would like to add something for what Lydia add. I would like to add on Lydia's thought. When you're making friends and speak to the other teachers, especially if you are not tenure, please do not speak about the principal, how she awful is, how he is awful or bad. Avoid that conversations, because whatever you say about the administration will go to them right away. Believe me. So do not speak how is the administration bad, how does principal awful. Once you open your mouth and say that, this word, it will be on their desk right away. You don't know how, but it will go to their desk. Please avoid that conversation, especially if you are not tenure. Thank you.
Well said. So on that note, I am going to introduce our special guest, Dan Alisea. So Dan is actually not aligned to any main groups, but Dan is also pretty cool. I know Claudia, Jay, James, and myself, and probably a few other you here, attended a Special Teachers of New York presentation on Sunday regarding mayoral control. And Dan is going to talk about his resolution and basically why we should be against mayoral control. So Dan, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, UFT Solidarity, for the invitation. Thank you for the council. I know many of you from just our online interactions. That includes the NYC DOE chat. That includes Teachers of NYC. Teachers of NYC is just an online community. And we're hoping and looking for some of the things that I know you guys represent. And I want to thank Solidarity, first of all, for being a voice of change and opposition. It is important, the work that you guys do, and it's vital. So I really do want to thank you guys for what you have done for our union. That includes being the champions of litigation. You guys hands down when it comes to litigation. And so I really have a lot of respect for what you guys represent. Today, I just wanted to share with you a resolution. I am a delegate at my school. I teach at MS 53 in Far Rockaway. And I do recommend getting to be part of your leadership there. If you want to see change, if you are tenured, just don't go for delegate or chapter leader. One of the places where you're going to be able to make some real changes, and I learned this really quickly, is your school leadership team, SLT. Get on there, become the chair. I did the same thing, and I started to realize that my influence for changing things that were not going so well at the school, it increased. So I do also recommend get on the consultation committee, but see if you can join your school's SLT, your school leadership team. And it's one way to also mitigate that principle that's tough, because we had ourselves a really, hold on. We had ourselves a really tough principal for a good 3 or 4 years, but I think being part of that SLT, was an opportunity to form some type of relationship, but at the same time, get some changes that we needed. And eventually we got her out. So I recommend SLT as well to those of you that are out there. I'm here to present a resolution that I asked the DA to to put on next month's agenda. And the D agenda resolution simply asks, the UFT has had a position on mayoral control. All of us know, I would hope, know that New York City schools are run by essentially one person, the mayor. It's been like that for the last 20 years. Slowly but surely, more and more power has consolidated into the mayor's office in controlling schools. And we're seeing the effects of that right now with this COVID crisis. If you're upset like everyone else is, I think we can all say some wonderful things about our mayor. And it doesn't even matter where you are on the political spectrum, whether you're a conservative in the middle or on the left. I think we all have the same discontent towards our mayor and the fact that he's able to control our city schools. So I put out a resolution. I'm going to share it in the chat. There's also a petition that's attached to it. And let me make sure I'm sending it to everyone. And it essentially asks for three things. The union has had a position on mayoral control since it started. Some of it has been just voicing opposition, and that's been probably part of the problem. Yes, they have said they are against it. They've come out with recommendations. They've had committees. They've put out literature on it. But for the last 20 years, we have not seen any changes to mayoral control. In fact, we've seen an increase. And yes, there have been some givebacks. I think one of the givebacks recently is that there's also something called a PEP. Some of you have had to speak in front of a PEP. A PEP is essentially the school board, but that school board is a rubber stamp. It is a rubber stamp for the mayor because the mayor gets to appoint most of the people that's on that PEP, that panel for educational policy. And so if you take a look at the link that I've sent, we're asking for essentially three things. And there is a strategy behind this. And so I do want to talk about the resolution. I know that some of you were sitting at that DA in November and in December, just a couple of weeks ago, and we're saying, well, it doesn't go far enough. And I'm going to tell you right now, I agree. But I think if you take a look at it, you'll understand that it is a stepping stone to some of the things that we all want. So the first thing I'm saying is that we're asking our union to strengthen its commitment to end mayoral control as we know it. And so we're asking for three things in this resolution. We're asking that it become the first step for us to really commit to some fundamental change. And so the first thing we're asking for is to create a new committee to revisit and revise and update the last set of recommendations that we made as a union. But this time around, we would like that committee to meet with all community stakeholders. That includes some of the caucuses. And that's how I envision it. I also envision some of parent and educational advocates sitting down with our union and really sitting down and revising the recommendations for ending mayoral control as we know it. And so I think that's one place where we start to chip away and really start heading towards fundamental change. The other thing we're asking for is for the UFT to endorse candidates who only support changing our school governance fundamentally. So our endorsement for mayor would be conditional on the fact that that mayor accept this stakeholder policy. We're also asking, since the UFT also endorses state assembly and state senator people in Albany, keeping in mind that the only way for mayoral change to happen is that the state legislature has to accept it. And so we're saying that the union only endorse state assembly and state senators that support the principles of ending mayoral control as we know it. And lastly, we're looking for in this resolution, we're asking the UFT to create and implement an action plan with those community stakeholders. That includes parents, educational advocates, students as well, from that initial committee, and that they would work in tandem with them to start lobbying Albany, lobbying the governor, who has to accept that mayoral control has been a burden on our backs. And I think we're at a place right now, especially after this pandemic, that the momentum is ours. And so that's what the resolution is asking for. I want to take questions, a couple of questions first, because I've already been able to have some beginning or cursory conversations with Lydia and a couple of others with Solidarity. I want to take your questions first, and then I want to tell you the why behind this resolution. So Dan, if you want to share, I see you've got a couple of comments there.
First of all, the mayoral control started in 2002.
Yes.
I remember it quite clearly because I remember Bloomberg talking about it. And I remember saying, this is really going to be terrible. My father would listen to me about it. And he's like, what's wrong with mayoral control? That was my third year teaching. I started in 1999. It was because you have something that is a public service and it should not be involved in politics. But that aside, they're not going to do anything with with mayoral control until they see that there is a viable substitution for the community boards, the weak points of the community boards that made mayoral control an option in the first place. They're not going to go back to local community school boards and the corruption that went. They're not going to agree to it because of the corruption that happened with that. So we have to address how are we going to stop the corruption that happened with the local community school boards if we want mayoral control to end. How do you address that?
Okay, I think that one of the myths and really that are out there is that the recommendations that even the UFT has put out, and there's some work. I'm going to send out a link right now called the Parent Commission. There have been several organizations and parent groups, including the UFT, that have put out a different solution. And that does include looking at CECs, looking at other levels of school governance that need to be democratized. And none of them are saying go back to the 32 school boards. They all recognize that there are some flaws with the old system. I think another myth, Dan, is that the school boards essentially ended 6 years before 2002. There was an interim system in between, and it actually had given more power to the chancellor under Giuliani. And so, that was a very corrupt system, but I think you and I would agree that it's probably just as corrupt today under this mayor.
I agree.
And so, we're looking at other alternatives. There are other groups. If you take a look at the Parent Commission report at parentcommission.org, you're going to see that there's a very comprehensive plan, and that's very. It's very similar to the plan the UFT put out in 2013. I do think the Parent Commission recommendations are more democratic. They also provide hopefully a seat or two for us as educators on the PEP, which I think is essential. And so I do want you guys to take a look at that. I know there were John might have had some reservations about it, but I do want to say that there are recommendations out there. Some of them are competing plans, but I do think this time around there has to be a more of a unified tsunami that goes towards ending this. If not, we're going to be at the same place because we are now looking at the third mayor where everyone, including I feel like UFT leadership said, well, maybe it'll be better next time. Well, guess what? It's gotten worse.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
This is Claudia. I just wanted to mention, since I'm old and I go back to the 60s, when decentralization occurred, it was considered a very bad move. And unfortunately, it proved itself that what happened was you had little fiefdoms. And I remember attending a District 11 meeting where they were handing out their positions, the principalships, the assistant principalships, and everyone basically, groveled before the superintendent. Oh, thank you so much, because that's what they did. So nobody wants to go back to that. I'm sure the union is the last.
Absolutely, yeah. The union is actually calling for a system of checks and balances. That has been
Yeah.
their talking point, where you would have a PEP that is more empowered. You would have a school board, the PEP itself would have different constituents in there that are unlike this time. This time the mayor would not have, at least under the UFT plan that's existing right now, the mayor would not have the majority of the appointments, which is a big deal, because if he gets to control who's on that PEP, then of course it's a rubber stamp. But still, I also agree that alone does not go far enough. I think there's other ways to reconstitute that PEP. There's also the idea of going bottom up. So your CDCs, your local community school boards, we're not looking for something that would replicate what, that decentralization, but there are things that parents want and power that parents want on a local level that I think can be given on the community level. Especially now, you're starting to see some of it already. This time around, I think CEC presidents have to campaign. They have to campaign for at least the president's seat. There's some other things in the parent commission report that allow CECs a lot more power. And then those CECs would also be allowed to appoint up to 6 members on the PEP. So you're looking at democratization. To me, that is where we're at. We need to take that term, and we need to not just talk about the mayor's office and not just about the PEP, but including our union. So I don't know if there's any other questions about it, because I do want to tell you what the strategy is, because I know that one of the pushbacks I heard was that this doesn't seem to go far enough. And I think if we start to look at it a little bit differently, I think the momentum is here, the energy is here, the discontent is here in this city to have a change finally.
Also, there are other cities that have had mayoral control and they've voted to change it. So,
exactly. And so that's one of the reasons I'm asking the UFT to have a new committee on this, because we now have case studies: Chicago, Newark, Detroit. We have enough cities now that have been able to turn it around, and there's a lot more data, and of course there's different realities now. And so we have recommendations now as a union that are about 9 years old, and I'm hearing Mulgrew in the last 2 weeks say he wants to end it. He's gone on radio shows, he's given interviews in the press. He has made some amazing quotes about how there should be a system of checks and balances, how one person should not have all of the control. And I say we hold his feet to the fire on that.
2 minutes. 2-minute warning.
All right, so really, really quickly, can I share my screen? Lydia, am I able to share my screen?
I think you should be able to, because
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
think you
shared
can.
screen on mine.
Okay, I think it says you cannot start screen share while other participants sharing. So someone's sharing right now.
That would be Lydia.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're good now.
All right, so this is where I'm at with this. I do think that we need to all coalesce as a union. I am not just talking about leadership. Leadership's going to do their own thing, but I think there's enough energy right now, especially after this pandemic, especially because we're not seeing the changes that we need, and we're seeing a city that wants change. I think we need to capitalize on that. And so I'm asking you to really think about, let's get this union thinking about fundamental change. This is step one to some of the other fundamental changes that we want. You're talking about disabling and eventually beheading the dragon, which is mayoral control. If we can do that as a union, and I'm saying from the inside out, then we're able to start talking about this idea of democratization, not just for our city, but also for some of the other institutions that we want to see democratized. So I'm saying that we target this. There are other coalitions out there. There are other stakeholders out there that have some great ideas and alternatives. I say we latch on to those, we take the momentum. And I think if we can bring this one down, then some of the goals that you guys have become attainable, because then you're going to see an excitement within our union that, hey, we were able to change something like mayoral control. Maybe we need to change within ourselves as well. That's the first thing that I think we're able to do. The other thing is this: if we don't act, we're going to have the status quo. There's enough corporations out there, enough other special interests out there that love doing business with New York City. And so if we don't harness this discontent, this is, I think, a once in a lifetime opportunity for us. Yes, COVID has been horrible, but it has offered us a solemn opportunity to get some real fundamental change. There's going to be a vacuum in November. There's going to be a new mayor. 2/3 of the city council is going to be out. There's going to be a whole new slew of people coming into the city council. We need to say, you know what? Schools don't belong to one person or to 2 or 3 people. They belong to us. So I'm asking Solidarity to really consider that not only does this reimagine our schools, but I think it creates an energy that can be used for the future, especially within our union.
Thank you. Unfortunately, you are out of time because we do need to go back to the DA with Quinn and John Lawhead. But thank you, Dan, very much. This is very helpful. This is very thoughtful. And we will definitely go back to thinking about this and then talking to you about what we decide as a caucus. Thank
Awesome.
you so very much.
Thank you.
So Quinn and John Lawhead, since you guys were the ones who are amazing authors of our resolution, could we potentially close our meeting by having you guys just give us like a really quick, like 2-minute summary about the delegate assembly?
Hi, I can start. And I'll just give all the credit to Quinn, who actually wrote this resolution to prevent the use of the Danielson rubric or checklist for remote instruction. And I think we brought it up last time and everybody understood what that was. I want to say something about the DA right now. During the COVID pandemic, it's very different in some ways. In that it's much less predictable, I think, as far as motions being brought, resolutions being brought, and how things happen. And I would just say to Quinn, I haven't, we talked a little bit, but it's very important, even if you just get it as a motion, onto the agenda, which means it's going to be a resolution the next month. It's still very significant that you do that, because honestly, the DA is more of a forum than an actual policy-making body, as our Constitution says. And Mulgrew did kind of address this during while he was speaking, and he talked about how there's ongoing negotiations over the evaluation system, and that they would, we would be hearing next month. So I think we need to try to get more resolutions that force the UFT leadership to take actions on behalf of teachers and other school staff. And there has been so many resolutions that are either symbolic or a matter of principle or a matter of such solidarity with other unions or whatever, that you'll see the inconvenient resolutions that they actually are going to have to represent members better are going to go at the bottom. And we're not going to probably get to really make a case for it. There's going to be a lot of talk, a lot of these other resolutions that go before that. But I would still argue that we really want to, there's opportunity here, and the opportunity is this, that when the voting is anonymous, when people aren't watching who's putting up their card, as with the in-person DAs, anything can happen. We've seen it. We've seen it already. We've seen an endorsement get shot down, and we have a real interesting half-baked resolution going into January that says basically teachers who have who if they weren't able to fix the class size, they should get a bonus. And it's unbelievable. This is a real resolution we're gonna vote on. I will vote against it, but I think there's a part of it that's baked, and that the good part was the baked part that said our grievance system isn't working. These expedited grievances just don't get it for us. And I'd love if we could do a follow-up to that and make a resolution that says we would like the president every month to report on how is our regular grievance system being restored. If you read these agreements around blended learning, you'll see that it was supposed to be restored on October 1st. Because remember, we had a month-long organizational grievances. You could grieve programs all the way up till October 1st. And it said, because the regular grievance system will be restored. They don't want it, UFT doesn't want it restored. And we heard Mulgrew say that because it's old, it's the dinosaur, these expedited organizational grievances are much faster and more effective. But this guy who got his motion passed for the resolution with big margin was saying, you know, if we can't fix something, let's give teachers bonuses. Now that's like cockamamie, but the other part of it is, yes, the grievances aren't working. So I really would like for us to kind of redouble our efforts and get meaningful resolutions where, listen, they won't get to us. Don't worry. They'll have all kinds of symbolic messages to go before that, but we will. They'll see us, and they saw Jonathan Habibi got a motion for a resolution saying blended learning doesn't work. Well, that was never going to make it onto the floor, but everybody saw it, you know, and so that's where I think we should go. And I've taken enough time already.
Thank you, John. Quinn, do you want to add anything? I guess Quinn is not here. All right.
I don't think so.
I guess so. So I guess Adalis, let's wrap up the meeting because we're almost over time.
Oh,
Lydia, can I just?
Sure, go ahead.
Lydia. Oh yeah, I just remember the resolution we did have that passed. Quinn brought up, and it was. I just felt the way sometimes Unity sees it coming, and then they already have someone who speaks against it. But the best way that we had it done with the workplace bullying was Quinn just read the 3 lines. So if it's 3 lines, they still do that, right? So if it's 3 lines or less, can't it be discussed and put on the next month's, maybe
yes,
James?
Correct.
Yeah, so I know it's like the element of surprise. I mean, he said, hey, we should support workplace bullying law. And who's gonna, you know, it's very hard to come across against that, but sometimes that's a way to do it too. Just want to throw that in.
Well, Francesco, there's no more surprises. It has to go in 2 days before. It has to go in by noon, I think, on Monday. So that's what they're doing there, but it does go in. That's the thing, and then it'll be there. So
okay.
There's not going to be any surprise. But if your resolution is inconvenient because it matters, well, then it's going to be at the end. So that's how it works.
Okay, so you still can't. Wasn't that part of the Constitution?
You can't go from the floor. You can't, which we used to be able to do.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
We
Yeah,
could
so it
ask the
doesn't apply.
secretary to call on us. We have a resolution. We have copies of it. Please call on us and we'll make the resolution. But now the resolution has to be put in and processed, whatever, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thanks.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Comments before we wrap up? If you do have a question or comment, please feel free to send it to solidarityhelp@googlegroups.com. Lydia, we're at the end of the meeting. So with that being said, everyone have a good evening. Enjoy your holidays with your family and please stay safe.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Good night.
Happy holidays.
Be well.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Happy
you.
Christmas.
And the stickers are for Christmas. These ones you can paint because you know those are decorations.
Good job, Adalis.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Good
All
night.
right, good night.
Good night, good night, good thank you, everybody.
No, Dallas.
All right.
Night, Lily.
Night.
That was good.
You want me to wait till everybody logs off?
You're free to leave. I'll close the meeting when we all log off. Have a good night, Dallas. Thank
All
you for
right,
everything.
too. If anything, hit me up.
I always.
So let me know so I can send you something. We'll do.
Thank you, hon.
You said you got a Cash App?
No, but I can get one.
Get one and send me the info.
Okay, thank you.
I got Vimo, Cash App, and the other one is, what's the other one? Three right now. I got three. Zelle, Vimo, and Cash App.
Boom. Good.
All right. Good night.
Thank you.
We'll talk.
Good night.
All right, bye.
All right, everyone. I'm closing the meeting. Have a good night.